Hi guys, good morning and good evening to whichever part of the world you are. My name is Gaius, the guild lead for PathDAO, and I will be your GMI host for today. Right, GMI is gonna make it where we discuss whether the games will make it or not. And today we have legendary Heroes Unchained. Please welcome our two special guests, Julius Hong and David Freeman.
Thank you for having us.
Hey Julius,
Hello,
hey David.
happy to be here. Thank you.
Nice. Could you guys introduce a bit about yourself before we begin?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just jump right in. Hi, I'm Julius. I'm the executive producer here at N3twork Studios. I'm currently working on pushing one of two blockchain forward games for N3twork Studios. I've been in the game industry for close to 14 years, starting off in MMORPGs and shifting gears and spent a lot of my personal time and professional time in mobile games.
Nice.
Hello.
David?
Yeah, I'm David Freeman. I'm the lead game designer at N3twork Studios. I'm working on Legendary Heroes Unchained with Julius, and I've been working in games since about 2003, and I've worked on physical games, board games, war games, free-to-play mobile games, and then I've joined the team to work on this blockchain Web3 game. Yeah, so I spend a ton of time playing games. It's what I do with most of my time, and that's me.
Nice. I think all of us here are gamers. That's why we're so interested in the space. Okay, before we begin, right? So let's see a trailer from Legendary Heroes Unchained. Let's check it out.
What price would you pay for freedom? To control the fate of Corellis. To sweep the floor with your enemies. 1 life? 100? 1,000? I say no price is too high. Gods and heroes follow your banner. An army awaits your command. And Corellis is yours to conquer. The only question is, do you have the will to take it? When fortune comes calling, will you answer? Legendary Heroes Unchained. Own your legend.
Wow, cool stuff. Exciting stuff. All right. The trailer looks really cool, right? Very colorful. I'm sure, there's some elements into it with the colors, purple, green, red. Right. So I think let's start off with, I really want to know what's your inspiration of building LHU?
Yeah, David, do you want me to jump in? I'm locked and loaded. I just had my coffee.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna take turns. So the inspiration behind building LHU, well, we had an original IP with Legendary Game of Heroes, and over the course of many years of live operations, we've created a plethora of beautifully, crafted and rich characters that we generally wanted to reimagine as beautifully animated NFTs and kind of a new, rich and highly engaging squad-based RPG experience. So as big fans of the genre, we really thought that we could marry the benefits of ownership and utility of NFTs in an ecosystem that prizes itself in itself as being a well-balanced economy, deep progression systems, and offering social competitive gameplay that we think will delight a really big audience.
All right, cool. I think the social part is what keeps the gamers going, right? For example, I've played games that, whenever there's a guild, definitely that helps retention a lot, right? Because it's more competitive rather than playing solo.
Right. I mean, it's always a better experience when you can share all like the little mini victories to the large victories with other people. And I think that's one of the biggest things about games that make it such a, a good investment of time. Though some people might argue is that you can kind of share and explore all these different worlds with people that hopefully you generally enjoy spending time with.
Yeah, definitely. Right. So I think you know, no, there's a question by the audience. Can they play on Android or PC only?
So initially, or actually, David, do you want to take it?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, we're working our EA1, our early access 1 release is going to be a WebGL build, so it's going to be played through your browser and it'll interact with, the website that goes along with the game that and the marketplace that goes along with the game. So yeah, that's the platform we're targeting for our first releases. And did you want to go on further, Julius?
Yeah,
or?
yeah, you got the green one.
We are, there are plans to eventually release on mobile platforms, but they're going to have to come further on down the roadmap at this point.
Okay, gotcha. So I think it's very interesting, right, to see previously Network was a Web2 gaming company.
Yep.
So just curious, right, why did you guys move to Web3?
That's a good question, and well, I've got a good answer. I think at the heart of it, everyone here at N3twork Studios, we're all game industry veterans, and I think we all knew that we could enter this space by delivering a level of quality that we would expect when developing games. And honestly, we just thought there was a huge opportunity here to do so because, so far in this space, I've personally felt many times underwhelmed at the experiences from the different games that have come before us. And we just felt that we could kind of come through and set the standard of putting, a team of veteran game makers and publishing and developing a product that we thought could really raise that bar. And we also thought that, the marriage of asset ownership fits perfectly with the in-game economies that we have so much experience developing and operating with live service multiplayer games. So for us, it was just an easy win. We know we can do it, and we have the experience of doing things like this.
Yeah. Do you want to add on any?
I mean, I'd say opportunity, right? Like, free to play brought the innovation of, you can try out a game before you have to pay to understand what it's like and understand whether you're interested or not. And that really, made audiences become much, much larger for games. And then, with Web3, we're looking at utility for ownership and transferability of value, which, has not been super easy or implemented for, in the past. And so the opportunity to explore that and bring it in and be on the cutting edge of that was just, that really drove the change. So,
yeah. Okay. There's a question from Jensen. Where does the value accrue to? Typical games accrue value to equity. Some Web3 games accrue value to token. Some to the NFTs like Digidaigaku. How about LSU? Where does the value accrue to?
I mean, I don't think. That's a very good question. So I think first and foremost, the layout, kind of like the digital assets that we're starting off with, the early part of 2023 are focused on NFTs. So core to the game are owning NFT heroes, though our experiences are also marrying our best practices free to play. So our game will allow anyone to just create an account and start playing. And we actually provide you with server-based heroes that you can start, gaining experience, leveling up, playing all the different game modes. Oh, in addition to that, there are NFT heroes that you can also acquire and put progression into them, level them up, evolve them. So increase their, hopefully, their progression right in front of your eyes. Followed behind that, we'll start offering gear NFTs. It's all on a roadmap, so I encourage everyone to check it out. And then after gear NFTs, towards the end of the year, we have considered the introduction of in-game economy tokens, which will serve as, depending on which token, we actually have two plans for two tokens. One token will be like a project token that will have consumptive in-game uses as like the primary focus, because we believe tokens should always have in-game consumptive uses. but also be offered as a payment type in the marketplace that we're providing. And then the other token, which will be native to the game chain, it'll all be about deep in-game consumptive uses. Sorry, I'm tripping over my own words. So excited to be here.
All right. So I think you guys raised a good point, right? That games started off, we have to pay for games, right, back in Web 2, and then free to play came about. That's when we mass bought, gamers into the gaming ecosystem. And I think with what you guys are doing, you guys are doing a free mint as well, right, for your upcoming NFTs, so that it's free to own, right? And then maybe in the future, free to play players can come in and play to own the NFT rather than paying their own thing. So I think this is a good way to onboard the next, 1 million or even a few hundred millions of gamers onto
I love
Web3.
I'm going to call you out on that prediction. Hopefully it comes true. Yeah, I mean, fully, that's been a big emphasis. We really want the experience to be seamless for a wide audience, especially people who don't actually have experience with either cryptocurrency or playing blockchain games. We want this to be an easy onboarding process where people can just come check out the game for free and make the decision if they want to acquire some assets. They're more than welcome to.
Right. So this leads me to the next question, right? So what kind of user journey can the users expect, right? For example, would it be as easy as, when mobile comes out, would it be as easy as downloading it from the App Store and just start the game without creating a crypto wallet?
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of our partnership with Forte. So we're using their technology platform so that when you come to our website or you download the mobile game, you just simply create an account through an email. And once you've created that email, that's synonymous with a custodial wallet being created for you. So if you then have that wallet to store any assets that you may have. So really simple. That's the name of the game for us.
Yeah, a lot of our research has shown that, lowering that barrier to entry, that friction point of having to connect a wallet or even make a wallet if it's not something that players are familiar with, can really churn people out or really turns people off and kind of they'll just stop there. And so yeah, it's super, super important that that making an account and getting going follows the established best practices that we've seen from lots of different places like AAA, MMORPG, or free to play mobile. But,
Got it. So I think, I'm sorry if I'm jumping in and out, right, from answering the audience's question as well. I think some of them have quite interesting questions, especially as a user, right? I think I would also personally like to know what, how, would my PC needs very high spec or my mobile needs very high spec to play Legendary Heroes Unchained?
Well, we still haven't released the final kind of best requirements, but actually our game will have the ability to toggle between kind of performance and richer graphics modes. So we expect it to branch out to a lot of people with a lot of different systems. Obviously you can just play it right from your browser through the WebGL client. So that shouldn't be a concern, but as we get closer to the release, we'll provide kind of guidance, but we definitely won't discourage people to come try it and see, because sometimes systems, may be able to get a lot more than you expect.
Yeah. Okay. So, being in the Web3 space or even gaming, Web2 gaming itself, right? What sort of challenges did you guys have faced so far in LSU, and how did the game take shape progressively?
Great question. David, I know you got a lot of challenges that you'd probably more excited to share.
Yeah, I think as a studio, the space is so new, so dynamic, so fast moving, right? That we're constantly having to reevaluate our plans against, current events and or what we hear from partners. So, I think since we have kind of a startup mentality a little bit, even though we're made up of veterans and spun off from a company that was going on, it was already trading and doing well. I think that served us really well to address those challenges, to be like, oh, this thing has really changed the ground we're on, and so we really need to reevaluate and do whatever we need to do to address the situation now. And yeah, and so there's a lot of decisions to make around are we targeting kind of people who are already crypto natives, or are we targeting new players? Are we trying to acquire people and bring them into this world? And we kind of need to serve both audiences. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we struggle with a lot. And if we can write a good line, then we'll hopefully make a lot of people happy, right? But I think about that one a lot when we're talking about things, because crypto natives kind of want one thing, and then gamers in general kind of want another thing, and so we kind of have to marry those two together throughout the product in different places. But
yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say that that's definitely been one of the newer and kind of biggest challenges, is just coming up with that design. I think whenever you're creating a new game, that in itself is a huge challenge, but adding that additional vector that David pointed out of getting a nice marriage, a confluence between the expectations of crypto natives and those who haven't been initiated, and making it a nice, clean package has definitely been an additional kind of obstacle. But generally, that's also what makes making games so much fun. It's always like a new problem to solve. And so it's something that we've been delighted to try to tackle head on.
Got it. I think that's the number one obstacle for most games, right? Trying to, make people happy from both sides of the world. Yeah. So, okay. I know that Legendary Heroes Unchained is a hero collector RPG, right? So role-playing games, if the audience does not know. So I'm really interested to find out, right, why do you think that RPG would be well suited in Web3?
Yeah, definitely. Questions are really good. I mean, this is gonna be my take, and I think I can cover some points here. But I think RPGs in general have a really good proven track record in giving players, really deep, rich experiences where the players have opportunities to master specialization, and that kind of comes in forms of classes, character and gear build outs, lots of activities, in-game live services, lots of things to explore, and senses of good, clear senses of progression, where the user is constantly being reinforced that every step forward, they're getting stronger, they're being able to do more diverse things. So, and in addition to the actual gameplay, they're also built around really thriving and deep economies that feature itemization. And you'll see tons of different currencies and different assets within the game economy. So with digital assets being part of the equation now, we really think that it's just a natural fit. And when we're talking about digital assets, obviously ownership being a huge component of that.
Yeah, I mean, RPG just offers RPG by itself is one of the most successful genres just on any platform, and we see features and ideas from RPGs have made their way into almost every other genre at this point. Like shooters now have progression systems, etc. And Hero Collector and RPG together just offers so many things to interact with and to own and to progress. And these kind of ideas are just like a slam dunk for Web3. So
yeah, I see another good question by Ginger Beer Man.
Yeah, what are the steps and measures in place to ensure new players keep coming in, and also to keep the economy stable, right? I think this is the most asked questions in the Web3 space, especially. Yeah.
Also in Web2 gaming too. No, totally. I mean, steps and measures for any game, whether it be Web2 or Web3, keeping new players is absolutely essential, right? Because every game's goal, live service game, is to grow the user base. You want a thriving population. So typically, there's a lot of attention put into what the player experience looks like from day zero outward. And so you generally want to have a lot of onboarding that gradually introduces the user into fun and engaging activities while simultaneously teaching them about the mechanics and hopefully getting them to want more and more and more and feel like they're getting a nice sense of progression. So that's baked into any new game that we create. We're always thinking about how we can make that early onboard experience educational, fun, and just frictionless. Beyond that, I think the second part of that question was, how do we keep the economy stable? Again, that's always a problem for any game, live services game. Economies are big. You can run into problems of inflation. What happens to the value of individual goods and assets? Fundamentally, it comes to data and modeling. going into David was kind of touching upon it, and I'll give him a chance to kind of share his insights. That's definitely his wheelhouse. Is when we're building out economies, it all starts with a model where we build different tunable assumptions, and we model out based on past data. We can do comps with other projects that we have in-house, other sets of data. And then once the live services are up and running, and that's part of why we're running the early access phases from now through the rest of 2023, is so that we can tune and optimize the game with the community, which is not dissimilar with a lot of mobile games. You know, when they first launch, they kind of have a beta period. So for us, this is a combination of a beta in the sense that, like, you know, we're actively adding new features progressively over the year, and we're also tuning the heck out of the game, but we're also giving players an early opportunity to kind of get involved with the project early on.
Yeah, you know, the inflationary spirals that we've seen in other products, like they happen a lot of the time because, you know, you introduce a currency or a thing, and it can scale infinitely, right? Like the player can generate any amount of it as long as they keep playing over time, right? And yeah, they may be limited in the day and how much they can do, but like just more and more of that currency will be introduced into the system over time, which means that over time it becomes worth less and less, right? Like, and having really strong sinks that like will remove it, you know, like will help. But you also just have to control supply on some level, so that it won't just, you know, if players are holding it, they don't just lose value as more and more of it gets introduced, right?
Yeah.
So, and the better the sinks are, the better, because then like sinks can't be optional, because then players who are looking for value just don't do the sink. So like the sink has to be required to progress to get up to the higher levels to make, you know, higher levels of revenue. So like you need to be trading long-term game against short-term you need to be playing the game for long-term gain, and you need to be trading short-term gain to get to that point. Because if you can constantly be taking out for short-term gain while also progressing, it's not really a trade-off, right? And that will flood the market with like the thing that you're taking out that you're trying to monetize, right? So
yeah,
it's always like, I mean, even in real economies, we've seen inflation almost completely across the world this year because monetary policy and the pandemic and supply lines and all these things. So I can't promise, like it's hard. It's a thing that we're always going to have to be monitoring and be ready to address if we see problems. But I think those are some of the core principles. Like sinks need to be strong. The players need to be having fun, so they actually want to sink and trade off and get up to that higher ability to make value, and then trade in later rather than always trying to cash in every day. But
TLDR, a ton of data reports, a ton of monitoring of what's happening, and running tests. We're definitely a data-centric company, and most live service game companies have adopted the stance of arming ourselves with data and just constantly going through, analyzing, testing out hypotheses. That's kind of like live ops 101.
Yeah, I think a lot of games, right, have all these like time lock to resources. Like for example, in one day I can only play, you know, X amount of hours to get X amount of supply, so that locks the supply every day. And then another one is that the more you sink in, the more the return is. For example, it gets exponential every time I level up my character and stuff like that, rather than linear, right? If linear, you know, doesn't matter, right? No matter what I do, it's quite similar, whether I, you know, extract the value or I reinvest the value. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry. I mean, a lot of the value that we're looking at right now should concentrate on your hero. And so like if you actually choose, like if you put a bunch of progression onto that hero and made them more valuable than maybe they were when you first got them, you know, and then you go to sell them, you're kind of like giving up the value that you were using to accomplish things in the game. And so you can't use the hero to just create something else that has value and trade that like right off the bat anyways. But that's one of the ways we're looking at it. So and then we're also looking we've talked a lot about how things that can be, you know, value added, like awarding them might need to be based mostly on competition and leaderboards. So rather than just the player knows that they can make X by doing X, they have to actually engage and compete with other players to get those things. But
Yeah. So I think there's one question from the audience. How do you make onboarding frictionless for RPGs?
Good question. Fatui. For the early game experience, generally the convention is that you try to construct kind of like a trajectory so that when the user is brand new, lands in board, you present them with a limited amount of options, but options that keep them engaged and obviously are fun because you want the game to be fun like instantly. And you slowly introduce them concepts and new features over time. It depends on the style of game and it depends on kind of what you see with the audience because there's a huge component of what kind of people come into the product, but you're always kind of optimizing their early experiences so they can interact with things that are teaching them at a nice pace, obviously not overbearing them, not showing them too many options, not showing them too many kind of rabbit holes that they can get lost, and really having them pay attention to things that we think are going to help them understand the game, enjoy the game, and then eventually move them out into more and more complex aspects of the game. And that's, I think a very generalized way to explain it. But I don't know, David, if you have any additional insights.
No, I mean, I agree. Like you want to be able to present a situation that's understandable right off the bat as much as possible, even without like, a walkthrough or a fatui. So there's always this balance of like, we want to build a system that's deep enough that people can really explore it for a long time and like gain mastery and feel like they've had the journey and they're engaged. But then we also need to build a system that's accessible enough that people can grasp it quickly and really get started, and that they can kind of uncover the parts that will let them strategize and express their mastery as they play more and more and more. So,
yeah.
Right, interesting. Before we move on further, I'm supposed to release this secret code like way long ago so that our community can get some loot boxes from our platform. The first secret code is network with a 3, right? It's a 3, not a E, right? Okay, so while they note it down, let's move on to, I heard of something called loyalty passes in LSU. Could you guys explain a bit more what does loyalty pass do and what is it about?
Yeah, great question. So we definitely wanted to come up with a way to reward our most engaged community members, as well as trusted partners and partners we feel like are aligned in terms of our goals in this space. And we wanted to obviously help build interest in the project by offering a free mint. The NFTs themselves will have a utility that's directly tied to our project. By having that NFT on mainnet will actually give you a guaranteed allow list for all of our founder series mints throughout the course of 2023. We plan to have, obviously benefits within our Discord so that they can be invited to a special channel and have a direct line of communication with the development team, as well as receiving in-game gifts during the course of all of our playable builds for 2023. So as you get a new build, people will get in-game currencies and server gifts that will help them, obviously have a better and more enjoyable experience playing.
Right, got it. Just to clarify, is this loyalty pass an NFT or is it not an NFT?
Oh yeah, that should have covered that. Yeah, it'll actually be an NFT. The collection size will be 5,000, and we'll be planning to mint sometime soon. The exact date hasn't been released yet, but our trajectory is looking towards the end of January, possibly early February.
End of January, all right, got it. So actually, for PathDAO, I think LSU have collaborated with us that we will be doing a giveaway, right? And I think it has something to do with the loyalty passes. But just wait for a Twitter announcement, and you guys can 100 lucky winners will be chosen, right? To be able to mint this loyalty pass.
Yep. Right. Yep. Free mint minus gas fees, unfortunately.
Free mint is the best, man. Okay. I think we are 30 minutes in. I'm not sure whether we still have any more questions from the audiences. Right, so there's one. My question: as you guys a game developer, game designer, how do you guys find out the system requirements for your game? Okay, interesting. I would love to know too.
Generally, there's a lot of consideration for that. First and foremost, we for the mobile side of things, we try and look at. We actually have internal data that we collect, and we'll actually look at what are the devices that are proliferated that people are using. You can also look at like public data where you see like sales of devices, and so you kind of get like a base metric of like, okay, we know that there's a huge consumer base that have like these tiered devices. So generally, you try to look at that, and then you try to look down a little bit, and you want to encapsulate generally a broad range of devices. It is kind of a scattershot approach where you kind of have an expectation that you want to support devices that are a little bit older. Maybe the experience isn't as optimized as people who have the brand new iteration of the iPhone or brand new iteration. So generally, it's almost all game developers' interest to have as wide of a net while still offering a good quality bar of graphics and performance. So there's a little bit of that as a general kind of North Star of guiding you in how you pick system requirements.
All right. I think with the current time, we'll take 2 more questions. Okay. I'll let Claire handle which questions that you guys should answer.
Excited.
My question is: before the game start, hoping they have a tutorial mode in game to guide the gamers in softly playing this game. The question is whether there's any tutorial when the game starts, I guess.
Actually, David, you can probably take this one. We were just talking about this evening.
Yeah, there are plans to have some short tutorial stuff. We have been shooting. We're trying to make it, like I said, accessible enough that it should be mostly easy to pick up. We're actually talking about what the tutorial is going to look like still, but there are going to need to be some signposts to like let players know along the way what things mean and what they should be doing. So first time user experience is always crucial. So we are going to be building in us things to do this, but our goal is to make them as short as possible, because it's not very fun when like the game plays itself for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes when you first start it up. It can be a point where a lot of people kind of disengage actually. And so the goal is to direct people into the most exciting part of the game and get them to a point where they can start experiencing it and playing it as soon as possible. So that's kind of the goal of the tutorial or first experience systems or features we're working on.
Yeah, excuse me, lose my voice. Yeah, definitely. Just to mirror what David, reiterate what he was saying is, we definitely believe in having the least intrusive level of tutorial, because obviously we don't want to capture people, make them feel like they're on complete rails, but still, do our best to keep them in a nice progression so they're being involved and introduced to new systems. For our first playable, which is one of many this year, we're actually rolling out without it because we're actually trying to get the early access build out in front of people so we can optimize that mode and then introduce our second mode. So our first playable will be without a tutorial, but we definitely will be supporting the player base with information on our Discord. We'll probably publish some pretty neat video tutorials. We'll definitely be there to guide people through, but we are also firm believers that the gameplay is pretty intuitive. So I think everyone who within a minute they'll understand how the game rolls.
Yeah, I think the focus should be on developing the products at the early stage, right? When you guys are going mass, that's when the in-game tutorial should come about. I'm pretty sure like your alpha or beta testers will be more than happy to test the game out with you guys and then check out what information is there in the Discord. I love games with like low entry, like it's easy to learn, but the ceiling is very high. So if you want to be good at the game, you have to like really find out the things yourself and not rely on tutorial.
Yeah, that's exactly, you kind of hit the nail on the head in terms of that's exactly how a roadmap is built out. Is that EA1 is just like setting like the foundation of like introducing heroes, consumptive uses of heroes, progression of the heroes, and then the first game mode. And then EA2 we kind of catapult into introducing a new game mode, and then EA3 we introduce social dynamics through guilds, guild-based gameplay, and two guild-based game modes. And then beyond that, we're being a little secretive because our plans are much wilder than what we're doing just in this first year. This first year is just kind of establishing a firm base. And we love making games, and we like making very interesting games that break molds. So after we're through the EAs, expect some very interesting and I don't want to say chaotic, but just really, I don't know, just really exciting new styles of gameplay that I think people normally wouldn't expect to see in what they'll see progressively. I think we want to surprise people.
Right. Okay, got it. Do we have more questions? Yeah, I think we have one more. For the upcoming free mint or minting date, what network or wallet are you guys planning to use? This is interesting.
Oh, yeah. For the loyalty pass, that's actually getting deployed to mainnet, so that's just Ethereum. Yep.
Oh, on Ethereum itself, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we just need to pay for the gas fees. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Interesting.
Yeah, and actually that's one thing I want to throw out too is that our game's being built on EVM, Cosmos-based EVM. So with the game itself, one of the things that we're enjoying is that it'll be fast transactions and gasless. So anyone who's coming on board and playing in our games ecosystem, it's playing just like any other Web2 game. Like you're not getting constantly hit with these, pinch points of transactions. It just works. So that's something that I think we're really excited. Not to copyright infringe on Apple. It just works, but yeah.
Got it. Okay, all right. I think that will be the last question because it's running more than 30 minutes. I think our audience will be quite, most of us have low attention span nowadays. Anything beyond 30 minutes might not be able to absorb. So let us recap, right? So there will be a giveaway for maybe loyalty passes, where loyalty passes allows you to get the future means as well, right? And then we will announce it in our Twitter on how the giveaway is gonna work. Any last word from N3twork Studios before I close this?
No, I mean I'm very happy that we could join everyone here tonight. It was our pleasure, and actually I saw a lot of questions that we didn't get to, so I definitely invite people to come out into our Discord. Feel free to hit me or David up. I'm Vitamins on the LHG server. David is Skills with a Z.
Yeah.
We're always on. And our community manager will be out there. Nebula, shout out to Nebula. I think I saw her lurking somewhere in the chat.
In the comments. Yeah.
just join, ask questions. We'll be there. And we're really excited to be part of the space.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was really fun to do these things and get to talk to, all of our gamer friends.
Yeah, most welcome. I'm very excited to see you guys as well. It has been a great pleasure. Right, guys, what are you guys waiting for? The thing you should do now is go to discord.gg/LHU official and type in their general chat. Tell them that you're from PathDAO. Flood their chat, man.
And
all right, and then
and play the Discord minigame to get allow lists if you
yeah,
can get us allow lists.
Yep, that's the giveaway. Okay, so before we end, the last code is LHU 2023, right? Okay, note it down, submit your forms, and you get rewarded with 10 loot boxes. So, okay, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
See you.